Bulls team that will take on the Griquas is as follows. At number 1, Gerard Steenkamp. Number 2, Johan Grobler. Number 3, Mornay Smith. Number 4, Rowan Vermaak. Number 5, Rowan Nokier. Number 6, Marcel Coetzee. Number 7, Nizam Kar. At 8, Ulrich Low. At 9, Imras Papier. 10, Chris Smith. 11, Marco Jansen van Vuren. At 12, Harold Foster. 13, Stedman Gans. 14, Sibongile Novuka. 15, David Kriel. The Impact Squad at 16, Jan-Hendrik Wessels. At 17, Simpio Matanzima. 18, Francois Klopper. At 19, Charlie Ewels. At 20, V.S. Steenkamp. At 21, Keegan Johannes. 22, Chris Barren-Smit. At 23, Cornel Hendricks. Cool. Thanks, Carl. You can kick us off.
Jake, with the team announced, I mean, it's clear that you're going all guns blazing to Kimberley.
Yeah, Carl, I mean, I think we, as I said last week and the week before, the only way we're going to survive and try and make the playoffs is we got to play our best rugby and we got to pick our best, strongest team. So, yeah, at this point in time, we don't have the luxury of allowing other teams to have our destiny. We've got to win these 5 games. So with five more games. I know. Look at the log. It's we've fallen behind. So yeah, Carl, we need to get a win there.
And anything special you expect from the Griquas?
Oh, Carl. I mean, they're very good in Kimberley. I mean, their record is very good there. They've been together for a while. They play good rugby. And the one thing we've got to give them credit for is that
just frozen there, Jake.
anyone who's played rugby or coached rugby knows it's tough to go to Kimberley.
Would you mind just repeating yourself on the second question because you froze?
Yeah, sorry, Carl. I'm just saying it is a tough place, Kimberley. I mean, it always has been. They're a good team. They're well coached. They don't go away. They play for 80 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically what I was summarizing.
Great stuff. Appreciate it, sir.
Cool. Thanks, Carl.
We lose your signal or something. I don't know. Yep.
Ken Bolland.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask a bit later, but I'll get in there now. Jacob, both you and Edgar have spoken about the need for change at Loftus Versot, and presumably a lot of that will come down to playing personnel. Is it fair to say that in these last few weeks of the Currie Cup, guys are playing for their careers at Loftus Versot, but then obviously there's some guys that you have presumably already contracted on multi-year deals. So could you give us some idea of what sort of percentage of players you have contracted already for next season, and how many contracts are you still kind of deciding on, and just how important are these last few weeks, not just in terms of winning the Currie Cup, but in your planning for next season?
Yeah. So again, that's a good question. I mean, obviously this is a little bit of a stage where I want to try different things, and I'm talking about maybe, as I said, the combination of Nizam Kar this weekend with Ulrich and Marcel is something I would like to see as a starting combination. I don't think it's fair to say some guys are playing for their careers. I think, to be fair, we, by our own admission, probably could have restructured the Currie Cup a little bit differently in our preparation. Some players are finishing their contracts anyway, Ken. There needs to be change. I mean, and I think not because for any other reason. I think we just need some new energy. We need to, and change will happen inevitably. Some guys finish their contracts. Some coaches are finishing their contracts. So we're probably in a very fortunate position that after 3 years, which one included COVID, playing indoors and playing with no stadium, with no supporters, into playing into these massive crowds now, 40,000, 44,000 into URC. There's obviously been different, different responses from different players. Some guys have done well, some guys have fallen a little bit behind. So again, to answer your question, I think that they're still negotiating now with SA Rugby or Soraya or whatever. What is the, is there, how many players can we have? I think after learning this year, I think we've used nearly 60 players this season. Again, what is the number going to be of how many players we can have? So, if the number changes, we'd need some more. There's some players, as you can imagine as well, Ken, have come in lately and said that they might want to move to other provinces. It happens. It's the way that our sort of system works in South Africa. Some guys have been approached by clubs overseas, and that happens too. So I suppose what I'm trying to answer you is that is a work in progress, Ken, and it's very, very, it's obviously very fluid. So at this point in time, some guys are finishing up their contracts. There are spaces available. If you keep certain players, then you would need certain other players to complement them. So it's not as simple as saying there's 10 places and, whatever. I think at this point in time, with a month to go in how we finish and who we keep and injury-wise and long-term injuries, etc., that'll have a massive influence on how we package our team come September. I hope that answers your question, Ken. I know it's a little bit.
No, I understand, Jack. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Ken. Simon?
Thanks, Lunga. Morning, Jack. Jack, just on that subject, and I've listened carefully to what you've just said about, and I suppose it's a question of a balancing act. The balls are in the air and you've got to just manage that. There's some critique going out somewhere there that says Jake White will buy instead of fostering the local talent that is available in his union. Obviously, you have an opinion about that, and you have a point to prove as far as that is concerned. Taking into consideration what you've just said, that if you buy a certain player, you have to complement that player with another player or a group of players. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Simon, thanks, man. I want to explain to you, I'd love to keep every guy who's come through the Bull system in our system for as long as possible. But you look at the Griquas team and the Pumas team now, I think from Tikkies and from the Bulls, there's probably, I had a guess, probably 60% of those guys have come through the Bulls junior system. And they now get an opportunity to play Currie Cup for the Griquas or for the Pumas, who, as you know, were in the final last year. So it shows they're talented rugby players. But to answer your thing about the statements of I would rather buy than bring through, I think what people need to understand, Simon, I suppose you guys in the media can make sure that the message is very clear. Let's just use the number of 55 players that you may have in your squad. I'm using it. I think it's less now, but to make it easier, it's 55. If you have, like we have in the last 3 years, have had the strongest junior age groups in South Africa consistently for 3 seasons. You need the number 55 you need people in that 55 to leave in order for you to be able to put the youngster in. The second hell of an important thing is that you need to put the youngster in the position of the guy who left. So I'll give you an example. If Trevor Nyankani decides to go to Racing Metro and the best player in the junior age group is a scrum off, that doesn't help you, because you can't put the scrum off into the group of 55 because you need a front rower. So it's not a case of Jake will buy. It's a case of understanding that we would love to keep all our best players here, but through the market and through the system of how we operate, it's not possible. It's not possible. And then you get the player who finishes in under 21s, and it's under 20s now. It used to be under 21s. Now he's 21 years old and he wants to play provincial rugby. And I've said it many times as well, Simon, it's impossible to win anything big with 2/3 of your team being under 24 years old. So again, we sit between a rock and a hard place. You want to you have youngsters like Cameron Hannekom, like Jan Hendrik Wessels, like Reinhard Ludwig, like Kanan Moody, and I'm using names of guys who are really talented. But I can't add to those 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys with another 6, 7 junior players, because all of a sudden then 2/3 of my team or half my team are actually under 23. And at the Bulls, we've already gone through that. We've already gone through that under 23 process. We had Grobbies as a youngster, Morne Smith as a youngster, Gerard Steenkamp as a youngster, Janko Swanepoel as a youngster, V.J. Steenkamp as a youngster, Ulrich Louw as a youngster, what's his name? Keegan Johannes as a youngster, Canon Moody as a youngster, David Creel as a youngster. So what I'm trying to tell you is we've already gone through that process at the Bulls. And so, you know, if I'm saying I need to buy in, what we are saying is we need to now complement those good players with people from outside, because our system, as I said, with the talent we have in the juniors, isn't going to be the solution to our problem.
Thanks, Jack. Just to follow up on that, is it then something that we can look forward to, that we will see you more in the new to medium future as director of rugby, and to fulfill that role rather than to be hands-on with some of the senior teams?
No, Simon. I mean, my job is, even though I'm director of rugby, I'm a coach. I mean, I'm employed to coach. I'm employed to bring coaches through. I'm employed to bring players through. And nothing's changed. I mean, I want to coach rugby. I want to be hands-on. I don't sit in the office. And over time, we have the right people in place. We will make sure we get other people in place that will make that job not easier, but a little bit more controlled. So, I mean, it is what it is. I don't quite know why you would think that things would change. I mean, things have been working. You know, someone asked me last week a question. In the last 3 years, we've won every junior competition. We've played in the URC final. We've won 2 Currie Cups. We've played in the semi-final of the Currie Cup. We made Europe in the first year. We made the Heineken Cup. We made the top 16 and qualified for the Champions League. You know, I don't know why people would be wanting to know why I would walk away from coaching and go into an office job. You know, it just means that I probably share with you too much, and that is that we want to take the next step. The owners, the shareholders, the people involved in this company know that we need to be proactive, not reactive. And I'm sharing with you that we're going to be proactive. We're going to look for good players. We're going to make sure our team gets stronger. We're going to look for good staff members. We're going to work together in order to make the Bulls, as I said, a stronger and stronger club in the next couple of years.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Rashford?
Thanks, Lunga. Hi, Jack. Hope you're well. Jack, after last week, you spoke about possibly starting the URC preseason this past Monday and getting the guys like Ruan Nokia to put on weight and all of that. Obviously, that plan has been shelved. Just your thinking there, because you have quite a few interesting combinations also, your back three and your loose trio.
Yeah, so in fact, I mean, I have started preseason. So Jacques du Plessis in the gym, Robert Hunt's in the gym, Joe van Sale's in the gym. You know, I just go through the list on the top of my head. Cameron Hannekom's in the gym. Some guys, Trevino Jacobs in the gym. So I have started. It just doesn't mean I've given the names that you guys necessarily thought I would give. You know, so it has started. Preseason has started for some players. We got 5 weeks left. As I said, if I need to change 1 or 2 guys and send other guys to start their preseason as well, then I'll do it. It was just this week. We don't have Kane and Kirtley. They were going to be with the box next week. We don't have Marco. He's going to be with the box next week. So it was just putting together a group. As I said to you earlier, I would like to see that loose forward combination. I would like to see, you know, 1 or 2 other things in terms of combinations. And yeah, I don't want to make too many changes. I must emphasize, I asked the players, do you want to play or what do you want to do? Because, you know, obviously they've had a long season and they want to play rugby. So, you know, it's also a massive bonus for me that they actually want to be on the field as well.
One of the things you mentioned last week as well is maybe just having that bit of intensity and that pace in your game. A guy like Novuka, I think, is a bit underrated. He's done well when he's had the opportunity.
Yeah, XFactor. So I'm glad you, because I read an article as well where someone said that I'm looking for XFactor players, and he used half the forward pack that I have, So I'm talking about speed and skill and the ability to change a game, whatever position you're in. And, obviously we know how important, and I'm using two names of two Springboks, Kainan and Kirkley are, and I would like to add to that kind of, or that kind of player to our squad as well. That's basically what I was saying. I just felt that we probably are a little bit behind in the amount of people we have in our group. Doesn't mean on the field, it doesn't mean all together. It's for argument's sake, I just want to use the Stormers example. If Clayton plays and Damien doesn't play, I mean, it's like for like. And I think that's probably been a thing that I've picked up, that's been a secret, or not a secret, but it's been a success for the good teams, is they manage to be able to have depth of personnel in the same skill sets, or in the same ability they can give in the positions, or in the same combination. So if you don't have a fullback that's like Clayton, then maybe you've got two wingers that are very similar to Leon Lanzas and Sinatla. So that I'm just comparing with what I've picked up, and maybe we need to find, if we believe the way forward is player X, we've got to try and find two of those guys, so that at least we've got a bit of depth in our week in, week out teams.
Last question, Ashfaq.
Yeah, Jake, just on Griquas, the first one was a starter that sort of come back from in your season, a 43 victory at Loftus. In Kimberley, they're a very different team. You guys are probably well aware of the different challenge.
Exactly that. I said that before. I mean, they're very different at home. It's a different ground. I think anyone who's been there knows as well. The wind blows there. It's a bit like playing in Cape Town at Ike's. You can it's a completely different fixture playing Ike's in Cape Town as it is to playing Ike's anywhere else. So I got as I said, I'm under no illusions about how it is in Kimberley, what it's like playing there, what it's like playing against a team like that. So yeah, I mean, we're fully aware of what to expect.
Kate, Northway.
That'll be me. How's it, Jake? I hope you're well. I'm sure you've had time to reflect on the 2023 season. I know it's not over since it's the Currie Cup, but I'm sure you've had time to look at what's gone right, what's gone wrong. So what emphasis then maybe do you put on the Currie Cup now? I know you're saying, looking at your squad, we're talking about how you're going to field the strongest squad possible to make the playoffs. But so what emphasis are you putting on the Currie Cup? And do you perhaps believe maybe winning it would right a lot of wrongs that have gone in this 2023 season?
Yeah, sorry, Kate, can you just explain to me what you mean? What went wrong?
I mean, obviously you crashed out on the Champions Cup as well as the URC. I'm sure you wanted to have gone further than you have, and also you didn't have a great start in Currie Cup. So what I mean is, do you then use the Currie Cup as almost like to say it was not all bad?
Yeah, but it wasn't all bad, because I mean, no one got through the playoffs of the Champions Cup. So, I mean, that's why I'm trying to explain again earlier, is that if our season has been poor and we ended up 6th in the URC, qualified for Champions League, well, then I can tell you, then we're in a position of massive strength, and we're going to become a powerhouse team. Because in a bad year to come, I listened to an interview of a basketball player who actually asked a journalist, how many top columns have you written in the last couple of weeks? Or how many promotions have you got in the last couple of years? And that means every year has been a failure then. So a guy like Michael Jordan played in 15 Super Bowl or 15 NBA finals, and he only won 6. So I mean, it doesn't mean the nine others were failures. So look, Kate, as I said, I'm going around in circles. I don't think we have done as well as we could have. I don't think it's a failure. The Currie Cup, to answer you, anyone who knows since I've been at the Bulls knows that we take the Currie Cup very seriously. We were probably the only team last year. In fact, not probably. We were the only team last year that played our strongest side in the whole of the Currie Cup. So that means that our union and myself take the Currie Cup very, very seriously. And that's not going to change. I mean, the fact that we had a poor start doesn't mean now we just give up and we write the season off, as to use your phrase. While there's still opportunity for us to win games and get into the playoffs, we've got to play as well as we can. And if it means we get into the playoffs, then yes, Kate, then we have as much chance as all the other teams to win the competition.
Thanks, Jake. I definitely don't think you're a failure of a season. I was just trying to get your
No, not at
thinking
all.
around
No,
where
but
you
please
placed you.
understand.
Yeah.
Please understand, Kate. I'm just saying that I just think people need to be perspective about. I'm telling you, it's not a failure of a season. If this is decided, if this is a bad season, well, then I can tell you what, I've been coaching long enough to know that some guys never experience what some of these guys have experienced. Challenging Champions Cup rugby, quarterfinals of the URC, losing to the team that won it the year before. As I said to you, if that is going to be measured as a failure, I can tell you, I'm actually looking forward to the next couple of years, because that means that things will change drastically.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Kate.
Carl, I'm sorry, I can't take your follow-up because we've got to be on the road now.
It's all right, we can take it. Let's ask him. It's fine. Carl, that's fine. What do you need?
Money, Jade. But
Yeah, well.
the question I wanted to ask you is, it's been said now that you're buying players and everything, but I was yesterday at the under-20 squad that played the Lions, and most of the stars there was players of the Bulls.
Correct.
But how difficult is it to bring those stars through? I mean, you explained of the depth and everything. How difficult is it to keep those guys in your squad and not making your squad weaker for the next 2 or 3 years until he, until he grows up?
My answer to that, it's impossible. It's impossible. When you have a limited number of 55 players, and again, I'm not saying we need more. I don't want 150 players contracted at the Bulls, because I don't think that's the way forward either. So when you've got 55 and you have to give guys, I mean, no one signs on a 1-year deal either. So when you sign a guy now, you have to hedge your bets and you have to give him a bit of stability as well. So it's not like you give a guy a 1-year deal, see what he's like, load him off, bring the next junior in. You know, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I repeat myself, we don't need more juniors. I mean, if I give you the list of all the best juniors we have in our squad, some of our juniors are the best juniors in South Africa. You know, Reinhard Ludwig, Jan Hendrik Wessels, David Creel, Kanan Moody. I mean, they would be considered as some of the best juniors in South Africa. But so I can't add to those juniors. You know, when people text me and say there's a wonderful player at this school, or there's a wonderful player at this club, or there's a wonderful player coming through the ranks, you know, in under 20s, or whatever the story is, it doesn't help me. Because 2 reasons. One is, no matter how good he is, I've got to have that position open in my senior team. And secondly, I've got too many youngsters that I can't bring another youngster in. Otherwise, it looks like an under 23 team that's running out against. And once you play Edinburgh with half the Scottish team, or you play Leinster with most of the Irish team, or you play, you know, the list goes on and on. You play in Champions Cup against Toulouse, who've got half the French team. You're not going to get away with a squad of 25, 26, 30 guys that are all youngsters. They might all be very talented, but you're not going to be able to take the next step up into the big league. And if we want to compete in the big league, Carl, and that's why the question earlier posed to me about buying players, we're not silly. We either want to compete or we mustn't compete. And if you want to compete, play Toulouse, where every guy's an international, or St. Leinster with every guy's international, or Saracens where every guy's an international. Then you either must say, I want to compete, or you must rather give it up. And I'm very lucky that my board, my owners, my CEO, and our supporters are saying we need to compete. And that means that we're going to have to think differently. So I hope you understand, Carl. I mean, I sort of feel that maybe people don't really get to where we're going to get to. Everyone in South Africa never went further than the quarterfinals in the Heineken Cup. Now, there's a message in that for me. But I can tell you that if I picked a team of 45 guys that are playing abroad, like, you know, RG Snyman, Jason Jenkins, Jasper Wiese, Faf, Jesse, Pollard, whatever, they would definitely have made it further in the competition, and they all playing abroad. So, yeah, we got to find a way in which we get those best players into our 4 franchises, and then we'll be able to all dominate, you know, club rugby.
One simple question, Lars, maybe it's not that simple. What advice will you give the younger players? Because, I mean, you are letting players go that would be superstars at the Pumas and Griquas and all the other stuff. What advice will you give those players?
Yeah, Carl, it's difficult. You know, who sat on the bench 90 times when Sean Fitzpatrick was captain of the All Blacks? Who was the number 2 fly-off when Naaspoorter played every single week for South Africa and for Northern Transvaal? My advice is sometimes you got to appreciate that there's guys ahead of you that are better than you. And you got to work hard until you get an opportunity. I mean, that would be my advice, because, you know, everyone assumes that every guy is going to make it in professional rugby and every guy should get a chance. There's only 15 guys on the field and 23 guys in the squad. And, you know, there's not enough places for everybody. So my advice is work hard. And if you're very fortunate, you get an opportunity. If you don't, you know, it's not because you haven't tried.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, coach. Thank you, guys.